Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday. Look, remember I got a blood test last week? Look, bruise. It's a metaphor for last week. I am still bruised in more ways than one. From last week. I'll admit it. It's just because I can handle it doesn't mean it's fun to have people thinking you're evil who you don't even know, and you're like, this didn't seem like that big a deal. I wish. The thing that's bothering me most is it wasn't productive. It's like if people are angry at me and I can understand why and actually do something about it, that would be better than just angry typing. Don't know where you're coming from, guys. Can't do much with it. And that kind of inspired this video today about when to apologize and when not to apologize, and kind of talking about talking online. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do a bunch of caveats because people's nerves are so raw when it comes to apologizing. Immediately, people get their back up and nope, don't apologize to the mob. Nope. I see your point, okay? There will be some of that in this, but please attempt to hear me out. That's all I ask. I don't understand why people think they are persuasive when they drop a hate bomb comment 11 minutes into a 30-minute video. They clearly didn't watch the video. They just crossed the asshole finish line first. Somebody liked that yesterday. So it's like, okay, that's when people like, ding, hey, yay, I know where to go. If you like my attempts to at least offer something productive instead of just criticizing everything, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. One of the things people, were demanding of me regarding Lindsay Ellis was apologies. Not a single one of those, she should apologize. For what? I actually asked some people, what do you want me to apologize for? And either their response got lost in the snowball of shit, or they just never responded. And I quite honestly think they don't know. I just think we're in this ritualized thing of when a bunch of people are angry at you, you should apologize. And my old school ass thinks that's wrong. You don't just apologize because people are angry. Because what are you apologizing for? You never ever apologize for other people's feelings. That's a sorry you feel that way, and it's not sincere. And that's pretty much going to be the TLDR if you want to stop watching now. Real simple. Apologize when you're actually sorry for something. Don't apologize when you're not actually sorry. Like, don't even attempt it. Ask questions, listen, like, why do you feel that way? Validate feelings, okay? Though that's fraught with peril now. People don't even know what that means anymore. But apologize when you're actually sorry. Don't apologize when you're not sorry. If you stray from this path, you get eaten by a grue. Because, you do it enough and people eventually realize you're not sincere and it stops working. And I'm actually going to defend Lindsay Ellis on this point here. What? Yeah. Unlike a lot of her fans, I can be objective. One thing I found strange, and it can be dismissed as a bad move on her part, but, somebody who's been through it, I get the impulse, was that, people turned the whole apologize or delete your Twitter account into some sort of zero-sum game. You do one or the other, right? And it wasn't. Like, I admit I found it a little baffling when people were offended by the fact that she deleted her Twitter account temporarily. I don't understand why people acted like that was yet another one of her crimes. People have the absolute right to delete Twitter accounts. It doesn't mean anything beyond maybe they just wanted to stop the temptation to tweet. This idea of, oh my God, all she had to do was apologize and she deleted her Twitter account. Like, to me, in that position, I would think, okay, this went overboard. If all people wanted was an apology and it drove somebody off the internet, that's what we get into yesterday. See how I build. That's not Lindsay Ellis being too sensitive. That's, hey, assholes, maybe you overdid it. That doesn't mean the core complaint wasn't valid. It's just, if it was a small thing, don't send multiple swears and the stupid performative outrage that happens online. And yeah, I stand by stupid there. That hurts your feelings. I'm not going to apologize for it because I mean it. Right? I found that so strange. And then after her fans got all up in arms of, oh my God, and then people got mad at me because she apologized. And I was being heartless about her apology. And then they demanded I apologize. And it all left me with the distinct impression that for a large enough contingent of people, apologies are performative. Apologies are a form of social control, not the first step to healing a relationship you want to keep in your life. And control seems to be an ongoing theme. There is a huge distrust online that people do not believe that various people are being authentic. They are attempting to control instead of persuade. And I see that point of view. I guess because I do this, I never chalk up to malice what can be explained by ineptitude or stupidity. I don't assume people have bad intentions until I see a real, lengthy pattern of behavior. I tend to assume that if there is somebody with nefarious intent, it's probably somebody running a channel behind the scenes, not the person who, goes out in front of the camera for a living. And maybe I let people off too easily that way just because I get accused of being disingenuous and lying and this and agenda and all this crazy stuff, and none of it's true. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going to extend a lot more charity to somebody accordingly, because I know I get accused of that and it ain't true, and you know what I mean? But let's talk about apologies, because it seems like these performative apologists, as I will call them, believe apologies are some form of social currency. And in a way, they're right. Apologies are a social currency, a social lubricant, whatever funny metaphor you want to use. Social peanut butter. I don't know. It feels weird if you get it in uncomfortable places and it can get stuck to the roof of your mouth. But, at the right time, at the right place, it's delicious, unless you're allergic. I do want to say, I know apologies are a sensitive subject for some people. There is the one hardline faction of just apologize. And then there's the other hardline faction of never apologize because the mob doesn't care. I recognize that the latter category is based in a lot of trauma. People feel that way because they were abused at some point in the past, and they tried to apologize and it didn't stop the stomping. And they're left very wounded by that. And that's not too sensitive. Remember, I don't do that. That's valid. That's legitimate. Yeah, that hurts. I did not use the word abuse casually there. That's my first when not to apologize, don't apologize to stop a pile on, because that's an indication that you're a victim of abuse. If you are just apologizing to get the screaming or the beating or the whatever to stop, that's a situation that has gone very, very, very wrong. And I'm not sure why people went zero sum with my opinion that, the people, not the people with like legitimate complaints with Lindsay Ellis, the people who are just like out to torment her, they went way too far. That is not in conflict with me saying that the legitimate concerns of people got lost in the personality politics surrounding Lindsay Ellis. Like, people made that I was defending cancel culture, I was being mean to her. No, one does not negate the other. One is not in conflict with the other. Both are truths that exist side by side. And it's hard to control online pile-ons. Some get particularly ugly. I have to work to remember how terrifying they are to a lot of people, because they happen to me so often that I'm just like, here we go again. Well, it's been 3 weeks, restart the clock, you know. The minute a pile-on starts, to me, it's something that has taken on a life of its own. Eventually, noise just becomes meaningless, and I determine that this is not about me at this point. This is what other people are reading in based on pre-existing harms that got neglected, got dismissed. And so they just target their rage to an easy target. And so I absolutely agree with the people who say mobs don't care about the apology. It's true. You can't, by attempting to build a bridge to your haters, you're basically allowing them to storm your castle. Which is why I have rules for comments I will not read on Feedback Friday, that people got mad at me for there, and that doesn't change my mind. When to apologize, I already touched on this, but if you don't apologize to stop a pile-on, you do apologize when you realize you were wrong, right? In a really bad way. It's sometimes you don't have to apologize for being wrong. Sometimes you can just say, I screwed up about that. I was wrong about that, you know. The more you do it, the more it sort of gets easier. Again, people have been bullied. I was there. I did not grow up in a family that apologized for anything. It was not an example that was set for me. I had to learn. It started in my teens. I had to sort of learn the nuances of apologizing because of that. And that's where I learned that what an apology is, when used effectively and used in a paradigm that is healthy and not abusive, is an apology is the beginning of repairing a relationship you want to continue, right? You hurt somebody, you mess something up. An apology indicates that. An apology takes the emotional burden and takes it off the other person and puts it onto yourself, right? They feel less bad because you're letting them know you feel bad about what happened too. You're taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is a big, big, big part of apologizing. And that's why when you don't know what you did wrong, that's a bad time to apologize. And this was my main criticism about the Lindsay Ellis video. very reductively, is it was a whole bunch of sorry they felt that way. Now, see, I didn't say that in the first place because people, no, that's not what she said. Yes, that is not literal. I know we live in an age where literal also means figuratively, so it's very difficult to know when literal means literal. But, focus on, I shouldn't have used that word, or, well, I guess. It all felt very much like she felt she had to apologize instead of really meaning it. And because I didn't believe she really had to, I'm like, what is this? It all felt very passive aggressive to me, right? And that's where we get into this performative apologia, right? Performative apologies. It's not about repairing a relationship. It's a manipulation. It's playing to a crowd. It's apologizing to look good. It's apologizing because that's the move, right? I get into trouble for not apologizing when I think that that's why I'm apologizing. But I don't apologize when I'm just doing it to look good, right? When, this will get me out of trouble. This will give me a shield. This will give me cover, right? That's a terrible reason to apologize. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Because you know what? Sometimes when you screw up, you deserve to eat some shit, right? At least that's what I believe. An apology is the beginning of something. It's an important beginning, but apologies used to control other people, they aren't really apologies at all. More on that in a bit. I tend to apologize when, two reasons: when I'm wrong and it had a bad impact, or when I'm not wrong but I hurt somebody in a way that was either foreseeable or in a way that was related to a blind spot. Like, I know I really have to watch remembering that other people have not had the leathering from online experiences that I have. I didn't want to say toughness because that implies other people aren't tough. I have to put myself back in the place 20 years ago, more, where this stuff was really terrifying, and try to see it from other people's perspective. And it does, I recognize it does hurt people. And this, again, this isn't because I did anything wrong, but I want to repair a strained relationship because I forgot how scary and hurtful it is for people who haven't had it happen to them over and over and over and over and over again. That doesn't mean someone will accept the apology. That's something that really bugs me. This social dance of, they said they were sorry. So what? It could have been a shitty apology. Someone may just not be ready to forgive that other person. And you know what? That's not a failing. If the person who's being apologized to is then forced to, it's a performative apology and then somebody is forced to performatively accept that performative apology, this is all passive aggressive horse shit, and it doesn't do a damn bit of good. People have to be able to either not accept an apology because they thought it wasn't adequate. That's fair if you can go, something like that was a sorry, not sorry, or that was a sorry, you felt that way, or there are right and wrong ways to apologize, right? But then there's sometimes where if somebody's hurt enough, it can be they accept this apology as sincere. They need time. They need time to process it. And that's valid. A huge pet peeve of mine is when people apologize and then get mad that they didn't get a specific reaction, or they get indignant that, well, they didn't accept my apology. And it becomes another pile on. I have seen this so many times. This was something, poor folk don't do this, okay? Growing up, I never saw this because people either didn't apologize at all or they only apologized when they really meant it. And then people were sort of like, okay, maybe. Like that was, and then like a week went by and then they were okay again. And yes, I did just kiss my teeth because that was a reenactment of the way things went down during my childhood. Okay. But that was an authentic climb down, right? Moving up the social ladder, you get into this bullshit where you watch someone go, well, I'm sorry, I guess. And then someone goes, it's okay, I'm sorry too. And neither of them mean it. And then the next day, they're right back to backbiting and gossiping about each other. Can you believe that? She didn't mean it. She only said she was sorry to get out of trouble. She wasn't sorry. And it's like they don't actually deal with it. And like the Yiddish word is broigus. It's this ongoing broigus. It's like this grudge that never really heals. And it's like, you two can't stand each other. Why are you pretending to be friends? Because they have to. Because they live a thoroughly inauthentic existence. And that's what I see on the internet over and over and over again is, I'm sorry, I guess. And it can be very wordy, right? Some crisis manager like wrote it for them, but it's very much sorry, not sorry, or sorry, I guess. Sorry, stop yelling at me. Something that isn't really sorry. Occasionally, you get one that's sincere. And not everybody believes them, even when it is sincere. That's the reality. You know, when you make a mistake, not everybody is going to forgive you. And they have their reasons. And that's life. The problem with these zero-sum expectations regarding mistakes is everybody makes them. They can't all be the end of the world. But that's like people who are constantly, I'm sorry, I guess, I'm sorry too, I guess, they're constantly keeping score, right? And unfortunately, these are the people that get the, fancy educations at schools with names that mean something. And so they go on to control everybody else's destiny in the public's face. It's really, really unhealthy. And it's really, really, really inauthentic. And yet, this is what's driving online discourse right now. This fakery, right? Where people are coining terms and people are saying things because they sound good and either they don't mean them or they don't think about what they're actually saying, right? And that not think about what they're actually saying is where a lot of apologies fall apart. An effective apology is made when you intend to do things differently and know what you have to do to change. That is the only explanation that should show up in a well-done apology. Not 10 minutes of this is what happened and this is why everybody was just overreacting and oh my God, I'm so wrong. Did all this bad stuff happen to me and just get off my back. But I guess I shouldn't have used that word. I'm sorry. Right? Like that is not a sincere apology. Not on any planet. You don't explain, you don't explain at the beginning of an apology. An apology has 3 critical components. I used the Cliff Steele from Doom Patrol version of an apology. Now, don't freak out because this is just a joke, but it's a joke with some truth in it. Cliff Steele, in an episode of Doom Patrol, I think it was season 2, episode 7, something like that. But he's talking to Cyborg, and he says, you know, this is how you apologize. I'm stupid. I fucked up. I'm sorry. It's verbal astroglide, man. And I just thought that was so friggin' brilliant. Because it's true. I mean, you don't have to say you're stupid. You don't have to say I fucked up. But the whole point is take ownership. Talk about what you did. Not talk about what the other person felt. And be sincere about it, right? And that's why explanations step on your message. If you're going on about how terrible everything was for you and that's your focus, the other person's going to know. So if it's by way of, you know, look, I snapped at you and I really shouldn't have done that. That's something I know I have to watch. I was under a lot of stress and, you know, I was having a really bad day, but I need to learn to manage that better. I'm sorry. That sounds sincere. Because it is sincere, right? You're saying, the thing you need to do differently is you got to learn to manage stress better so you're not taking it on other people. Not, I was having such a horrible day and nobody cared and you were just there and I thought you'd understand. I really thought you understood, but clearly you don't. So I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Like, that's not sincere, right? That's not sincere. The first one was. And all this passive aggressiveness is allowed to breed because it's all this rich people horse shit about sorry, I'm sorry too, and this expectation of I'm sorry too. There's a family member that does not talk to me to this day because I'm sorry too, because she shit all over my grandmother dying. And she apologized for it, and sat there waiting for the I'm sorry too. And it didn't come. And she has held a grudge against me to this day. You think that's stupid? So do I. Doesn't seem very sincere when someone's waiting for an I'm sorry too when they were the one that fucked up, right? What was I supposed to be sorry for? Pointing out my grandmother had just died in public because that embarrassed her. Do I care? Not really. Yeah, Scout doesn't care either. And that's the point. If you're just apologizing to get out of trouble, you're not really apologizing. There is a way to validate people's feelings and not seem like a complete shill or grifter, not seem inauthentic. Inauthentic's a better word, And that's sort of where I'm at with this whole Lindsay Ellis people mad at me and people saying they're quitting Patreon and all this stuff. Like, I understand these people are upset. I still don't understand why. It was not my intention to upset anyone. I have strong views on some of the things connected to what that Lindsay Ellis video. I have strong views on the, model minority stereotypes. I'm not going to apologize for that. That does not mean I don't care, right? I care very much that people are upset. I would very much like to understand why people are so upset, if it is actually authentic upset. It's just got to be based on what I actually said, not this, well, you said this, but you secretly meant that kind of nonsense. I'm not responsible for that. I'm responsible for what I say. And if someone can point out something I actually said, I'm open to that. I'm not open to just, I'm apologizing because people think I should apologize. I'm not quite sure what I'm apologizing for, but I apologize. I wish life was that easy, but sorry, it's not. Nobody's going to buy that, right? Nobody's going to buy that. I stand by what I said. I don't like that it upset so many people. Sometimes the best lessons in life are upsetting. I notice that, and this is something that is relevant to apologies too. If a person doesn't seem to understand the emotions of the other person, and it's fine, I'm sorry, it doesn't seem sincere, right? A big part of an effective apology is people recognizing why people were upset. It's not fun to be hurt by something. That should be obvious, but it's not. One thing I do give Gina Carano credit for, is she actually did seem to care that people were upset. She just didn't know what to do about it. She was overwhelmed and things were moving too fast. And I really believe that was sincere. And that's one of the reasons that I think what happened to her, getting kicked off The Mandalorian for her response was not fair. Some people need time to sit with something and, just give them a minute to think. And the thing I give her credit for in the Ben Shapiro interview, I hate that it was Ben Shapiro, but is that she actually did seem to understand the other side. She seems to recognize that she needs to learn about this stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff she didn't know. And she wasn't going to apologize until it was sincere. I give her a lot of credit for that, as opposed to other people who, piss people off and they're like, this is cancel culture, I'm not apologizing. No, I actually do think people were really not fair to her. And I'm really concerned about her being pushed more into the right-wing fringes of things because of that, because she needs to work and they're offering. And that's the other side to this that I'm going to deal with tomorrow, is distinguishing between people being legitimately upset and people being emotionally manipulative or abusive. I've been kind of gearing up to that all week. Because I do think that some of the stuff that was flung at Gina Carano was just abusive. They just got something in their teeth on that one and we're not going to let her go. And, that's not good it's just not good on a human level. It's also not good for social change. So tomorrow I'm going to unpack abuse. But hopefully you found this stuff about apologies helpful. This is something that I could do like multiple videos on. So yeah, it was a lot to take in. But I do think we need to stop making apologies performative and actually start treating apologies in the way they're intended. Systems, like parts in a big machine, have particular functions. And if you're trying to use a fuel injector as a timing belt, it's not going to work very well. And I do think a lot of online dialogue is extremely surface. It is extremely going through the motions. It is very much saying the right things. It constantly feels like a linguistic game of Scrabble instead of meaningful conversation. And if I can do a bit to make that better, that alone is worth people swearing at me and angry typing and thinking I'm shit and all that stuff. Because I got to admit, for the most part, like randos on the internet being mad at me isn't terribly persuasive. It comes with the territory. I admit, though, that some of the things that people suddenly thought about me on this one hurt. I'm not expecting an apology because it wouldn't be sincere. People are dealing with their own stuff. And that's the other part of apologies, and this is where I'll land. You have to be authentic when you want an apology as well. If you say you'd like an apology, it's one thing to not be totally ready to forgive someone in that minute, but you have to make sure you're not being abusive in that moment. You're not kicking someone when they're down. And that's something we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay? Okay. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LanaK. Thanks for watching.